Hello, everybody. Welcome to the White Ribbon Against Pornography Week webinar series, sponsored by the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. The National Center on Sexual Exploitation works to address the public health crisis of pornography, in addition to exposing the links between all forms of sexual exploitation. The Center is a national sponsor of White Ribbon Week Against Pornography, which is an annual national week of public awareness and education about the harms of pornography. To learn more, please visit endsexualexploitation.org. My name is Beau Abdulla, and I'm the founder and president of Pornknow. Our mission is to empower individuals and families to make informed decisions about whether or not they allow pornography into their lives. This is key in the wording we use here. We do not have a mission to abolish pornography. We do not have a mission to bubble wrap society from it. Our mission is clear, that we feel what's missing is the informed decision. That we do want to raise up the next generation to understand that this is a health issue, to understand the consequences related physically, psychologically, socially, and spiritually. And so that it's not just a behavior that people are unthoughtfully indulging in. And so our vision at the end of that, what that results in is to see individuals, both young and old, thriving in relationships as they choose to live free from the bondage of pornography. Through our Let's Talk curriculum that we've designed, we generally walk people through the phases of awareness. And there's been a lot of great movement in this area over the last few years, especially getting people to open their eyes to the impact that pornography does have. From there, we focus on education. And there we're asking the question, while you may be aware, can you intelligently articulate the impact and the harms that pornography has? And so once we get people aware and educated, we understand that there's still something missing. We'll hear from a lot of parents who will say, gosh, I know that it's a problem, and I can tell you about the addictive cycle. I can tell you physiochemically what happens in the brain. I can tell you about the social links and the increased aggression and violence in people. I can tell you about the physical dangers. I can tell you about the depression and the shame and the isolation and all these other things. But gosh, I can't talk to my 10-year-old or 11-year-old about this. And this is where today we're going to be focusing on that equipping side. So how can you start having these conversations? And we'll also then touch a little bit on the impact and the barriers that could get in the way, even if you are aware, educated, and equipped. What are the things holding us back from having these conversations? So who is talking about pornography? This is not an official research data that I'm about to share, but I do want to share with you some information that we've collected here locally in the Houston area over the past year as we've been talking to parents and asking them some questions. So we ask, well, how many of you grew up in a home where your parents spoke to you about the dangers of pornography when you were a child? And you can see close to 80% of our respondents are saying never. Whether it is one time, 2 to 5 times, or regularly, that is a huge number. And so this is one of the issues that we have to realize when we're asking people to talk about this, is it's something that they haven't had modeled for them generally. And there's ways that we need to explore what those barriers are and what we can do to overcome those. But then we'll ask the question, how many of you have addressed the issue of pornography with children? And again, we look at the regular number down at the bottom of the screen. Just over 20% of our respondents are saying that they do this regularly. So it is encouraging to see that Another 25% have done it, a few times, and a little over 10% have done it one time. Close to 50% have not done it at all. But we're still sort of in that number of only 1 out of 5, only about 20% of the parents that we've spoken to are regularly and intentionally addressing this topic. We ask the same question if they talk about it with other adults, and we still see a similar response of just under 20% are regularly having that conversation. And then we ask the question, how are you being intentional to seek out information about pornography? And again, we're right around that 20% target of regular interest and an intentionality to seek out this information. And so we found this very interesting, that we can really look at only about 1 in 5 adults feel that they've had good experience and a role model to show them what talking about pornography looks like. Only 1 in 5 adults are intentionally having these conversations with other children. Only 1 in 5 adults are having these conversations with other adults. And only 1 in 5 adults are intentional to seek out more information and learn more about the harms of pornography. Now, I will say, the population of this survey sample does have some bias in it. The number one bias is the majority of the events that we do as Pornknow in the Houston, Texas area are through Christian churches. And so we do have a high Christian base in this survey. But I think what's more interesting is we put out this number from our local experience here of 1 in 5. And you've got to remember, these are people who are intentionally coming to an event that talks about this. So this is a group and a population that does have an interest, that they might be all on different levels in terms of awareness and education and equipping. But you can say if they have enough interest to come to a porn harms event, to come to a Let's Talk event, that they already do have some certain interest in this topic. So we feel really good in our local context to be talking about this number, but as you get outside of it, it may even be less. And so, today we're not going to focus on the facts and stats, and there may be other webinars during this week that will do that. We're not going to get into those numbers, but we're on a real high level, right? If we're looking at these various numbers that can say anywhere from 1.5 to 3 of our young women out of 5 of our young women are indulging in this, and probably safely say anywhere from 3 to 4 or 4.5 out of 5 of our young boys are indulging in pornography. Yet we only have 1 out of 5 adults feeling comfortable having these conversations and being intentional to get more information. This is the gap that we at Pornknow are trying to close. In 2 words, what we're trying to do is catalyze conversations. And we're trying to equip people to have these conversations, again, to the end of our mission, so people can make an informed decision on whether or not they choose to look at pornography or not. But the good news is, just in the last 6 months or so, it seems like people are talking. People in spaces that weren't talking about the harms of pornography in the past. For example, the state of Utah recently passed a resolution declaring pornography a public health crisis. I'm sure many of you watching this webinar are familiar with that. Maybe some of you are not. And now we're looking for push from other states to join Utah in this effort, which we believe will open up research opportunities, which will open up more conversations, and start pushing the science-based research around what pornography does to us as individuals in our relationships and as society, to something that we really do need to care about. Whether we're watching or not, other people's porn impacts society. And I think this was a bold step by the state of Utah to declare it a public health crisis. But also Starwood Hotels, they have pulled all pay-per-view porn out of their hotel rooms. Again, this is not a legally binding decision. This is simply leadership of a corporation understanding the harmful impacts and voluntarily giving up a big revenue stream to say we don't want to be a part of this. Similarly, McDonald's and Starbucks have recently filtered their public Wi-Fis. Again, not mandated by law, simply from corporate responsibility. We're seeing some people, Elizabeth Smart, Terry Crews, Pamela Anderson. We can keep the list going. These are just three that come to mind quickly. Not from necessarily a traditional, your traditional place of voice and activists talking about the harms of pornography. So I think it's interesting. We're starting to see in mainstream media, Men's Health, Time Magazine, Cosmopolitan, magazines that in the past you would never have seen these kinds of articles come out. Just in the last few months, there's been articles about the harms of pornography. So we're starting to see a movement. We're starting to see some things move. But the one I really want to see people talking about more is this one. I'll blow it up here for you. So I don't want to mention the site because we don't want to necessarily promote that or trigger people to go look, but a major porn site recently changed their searches. And this was all born out of the Brock Turner case at Stanford University. And you guys may be familiar with it. If not, you can Google it yourself. But Brock Turner sexually assaulted a female student on campus and was essentially given a very soft sentence. And there was a big uproar about this. And there was a lot of talk about how why he got a soft sentence and kind of where what we should do as a society in response to this. And so this website, this porn site, you could type in your query, and one of the most popular queries, by the way, is teens. But those are really the three positions that we can take as adults into the next. Be educated, and you can even be equipped, but you're gonna still possibly say, "Wow, there's still something getting in the way here." And so, as we've talked to people about the barriers, once they have all this stuff, these are the main ones that we've seen. So we talked about this in the survey: poor parental role models. That could be a barrier, and we're asking people to talk to the red zone, to really go deep and to be true to themselves inside. Is this a barrier? Is this something that is stopping you? And if so, what do you need? Maybe you need to be an intentional to research and to learn more yourself because you were never taught it. This does maybe seem a little unnatural if you've never been exposed to the harms. The thought that pornography is not that big of a deal. We see this a lot with parents who are very apathetic towards it. The attitude of that, we grew up with it. The 35 to mid 40s and older, we do not know what it's like to grow up. So we sometimes take an approach of, hey, we grew up with our Playboys or other magazines, and we kind of got through it. And it's just sort of a rite of passage. But internet porn really has changed everything, and having accessibility, basically free porn, and having it anonymous in our children's pockets. Think about it this way. Most people, there are still some, but most people, you tell them about, individual parents handing their teenagers a magazine as a rite of passage and saying, here, I want you to use this as a learning tool. Most people kind of cringe at that. There may be a few out there who say, I agree with it, but the majority of people cringe at that notion. Yet when we hand our children a smartphone, we're not only handing them one magazine, we're handing them 2 billion pages of porn and 40 million porn sites to have unfettered access 24/7 all the time. But this is still a barrier. So we're asking people to challenge them as they get educated. Can you really still say this, that porn isn't that big of a deal? And will that then maybe spur you to have these conversations? We see that people will say, I'd rather not bring this up because if I do, it's going to enhance the curiosity in children. Again, this isn't a webinar on the facts and stats and the statistics. They're out there. The prevalence of viewing pornography is so large at this point. Your children will be exposed. So we're talking about equipping them to live in a pornified, hypersexualized world and make decisions. We do not believe that bringing this topic up is going to enhance the curiosity to where they're going to be further exposed or more intentional. So again, it's back to that idea of, do you want to be proactive, reactive, or non-active? And so do not let this be a barrier if you say you want to be proactive. The belief that it is not culturally appropriate to discuss porn in our families. We see this a lot, especially with different ethnicities. There are certain cultures that it is just taboo. You just don't talk about this. And, again, we are just saying to look inside yourself, to look inside at the cost, and do we really have a choice anymore? We know that it's uncomfortable. We know that there are cultures that it is just not appropriate to do. But at this point, we're at the point now where if we're not dealing with it and if we're not equipping our children, the consequences are so vast that we're going to have to step outside of some of these boxes that we've built. And then ultimately, each and every individual will have to make that choice. The lack of knowledge, skills, or tools to engage children. This is a big one. But again, that's sort of where the principles and the practical application of finding topical conversations and moving forward helps people in this area. Number 6, being scared or feeling uncomfortable talking about pornography. And I will say, as we survey our population that we've been engaged with in the Houston, Texas area, this is by far the #1 consistent barrier that people share with us on surveys. And so this is important to realize. And again, even as we present this topic, we have to take our own medicine, and we have to realize that we have to approach this with empathy as well. We have to understand that people are uncomfortable, that they are scared, and help them walk through it. That's one of the reasons, not only because it's impactful and effective, but that's one of the other reasons of why we advocate for the keep it short and often. 3 to 5 minutes at the breakfast table, in the car on the way to school, because we know it's going to be uncomfortable at the start. So it's better to have these short moments of uncomfort. But what we hear over and over is, as you engage with this and as you put that foot forward, again, with the right awareness and with education, it does get more and more comfortable. And so this barrier, the only way to get through this barrier is to slowly start walking towards it. There isn't another magic solution of just figuring out a way without doing it, and then all of a sudden you'll be comfortable. I think as you research more and as you become more knowledgeable, and this becomes sort of you become aware to the point that you say, wow, this is so huge. I don't have a choice as a mom. I don't have a choice as a dad. That in a little way is going to kind of spur and give you a little bit of a push. But the only way to get more comfortable It's like going and getting in a cold pool. You just got to do it. You got to ease into it or jump into it, either way. But eventually you adjust, your kids adjust, the language becomes normalized. And so this is the biggest barrier we see. And as you look to make others advocates, just be aware of that and have those conversations. A couple other ones are individual shame and guilt, and personal indulgence with pornography. These kind of tie back to principle 1 of leading by example. And sometimes that's a big barrier. It's a big barrier for people to even come to an event, because they understand as they even walk into this topic, if they have secrets, if they have things in the shadows, if they have a double life that they don't want anybody to know about, that is going to be a massive barrier for them to get engaged in this conversation. So we're asking people to join the movement. I think, for those of you who are watching this or gonna tune in later, I think that's what you want as well. Join the movement. We're asking people to become advocates for living porn-free lives and for the conversations to happen, to be conversation catalysts in this area. I love this quote by Frederick Douglass. I saw this at the Set Free conference back in April. It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. And so there's a lot of work to do. We understand that it's a hard topic to discuss, and sometimes you need resources. So you can go to our website, pornknow.org, and there's there's a lot of things in here. Especially we hear people don't want to even Google this topic; they just need a place to get started. So here you can see on the left side we've got Let's Talk TV. We are content curators, not content creators, and we don't try to take credit for other people's work. So on there, you'll find videos from other organizations. We've edited some of them down, so they're all in really palatable doses. Nothing's more than 5 minutes. But by topic, awareness, education, equipping, or impact, you can go in there. There's video. There's also other links for other things on the website, and you can start becoming educated yourself on this. There's Let's Talk Connect in the middle of the screen. You can subscribe to our mailing list once a month. We'll send out if there's new research, a new resource, maybe a video of the month, and just generally though, encouraging people to be intentional to have these conversations. There's a link up at the top of the screen for the 8 Let's Talk principles. So you can go there and what we did in this webinar, you can look at again. There's also a link for Let's Talk events. We do workshops, and we also do speaking engagements, 60, 90 minutes, 2 hours, very contextualized for audience and objectives. There's a link for the Let's Talk apps, which essentially just put the website and the video content on your mobile phone. So you never know when these conversation opportunities are going to happen, and we just want to give people that mobile opportunity to easily just open the app, go to Let's Talk TV, go to wherever else you want to go, and you can pull up a video really quickly if you happen to be having a conversation with somebody. We also have a link for trusted resources, and there's about, I think, 9 or 10 other organizations. We love what they're doing, but again, you go to pornknow.org, and now you have direct access to all those other links and all the other resources from all the other organizations. Right now, our featured resource on our homepage is pornharmsresearch.com. Again, if you're one of those people who are saying, give me the basis, give me the science behind all this stuff, fantastic research. Fantastic place just to go and to learn about this. We also have up at the top of the screen, are you addicted? 10 quick questions sort of to ask yourself. And we don't believe in self-diagnosis, but these are things you can go look at and start having honest conversations with yourself and with others if you choose to about seeing if you're addicted. Because again, if you are addicted, you most likely will need other support and professional help as opposed to just saying, I'm going to stop today. We also have a link to our partner, nonprofit Voice for Choice, that you can check out what they're doing and support there, and follow us at Pornknow on Twitter. So it's an easy place to go, pornknow.org, to start learning more and educating yourself to go to that next step, to start being an advocate yourself, and share this with others so others can become an advocate for living porn free. So you can check out the website, www.pornknow.org, or you can email me directly, beau@pornknow.org. And I really appreciate your all's time being on this webinar with me. National Center on Sexual Exploitation, I thank you for inviting Pornknow to be a part of this, and for White Ribbon for having the Awareness Week. So that's it for today. I appreciate your time, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.